Welcome to Small Practice Support information session number 65. In this recording, Finbar Jeffers of O'Leary Insurance talks to Justin Purcell about making a PII application.
So on the agenda today, I'll give a brief overview of the professional indemnity insurance market. We'll then go through the participating insurers and what we believe will be their appetites for 2021. We'll discuss the changes to the minimum terms and conditions and the common proposal form for 2021. I'll then go through insurers' underwriting criteria and the key underwriting factors which insurers consider when they're actually looking at your proposal form when it's sitting in front of them in their inbox. And then we'll look at some top-up insurance or excess layer insurance and what the market is doing there. And then finally, I'll finish up with what we believe to be the best advice for your firm. So I suppose throughout 2021, we've experienced a continued reduction in capacity across the PII market, and that's for all professions, surveyors, engineers, architects. And this in turn has resulted in both increased rates or increased premiums and also reduced covers. I was just talking to Justin there at the start of the meeting. I mean, we've seen contractors and engineers, we've seen their premiums go up by 40, 50, 60, even 100% in the last 12 months. So it really has been very challenging for those professions. What does that mean for solicitors and for December 1? Well, we usually look to England and Wales, who go through their PII renewal on the 1st of April and also on the 1st of October. Because that generally acts as an indicator as to what happens here in Ireland. And they saw their insurance premiums, I suppose, increase by 15 or 20%. So I suppose it's probably fair to say that we're going to see something similar here in Ireland. Now, we can temper that a bit, I suppose, because we've all gone through the pandemic, and many firms will have experienced a reduction in their fees year on year, which is one of the underwriting factors that insurers use when calculating the premium. So any reduction in the fees year on year, may be offset against any rate increases. And I can tell you, we'll be working very hard for our clients in negotiating that with insurance, or trying to negotiate that with insurers. So over the next two slides, we have the list of what we know as to be the participating insurers for 2021. As it stands, the panel of insurers remain at 7. And given the terrible global PII environment, we expect insurers to adopt a very selective approach to underwriting for the December 1. I've set out the insurers here in alphabetically and not by size, and also what we believe will be their core appetites for this coming renewal. So we'll start with AIG. We believe on a new business basis that their core appetite is going to be for 5+ partner firms. Now, obviously, AIG do have existing sole principals and partnerships with less than 5 partners on their books, and they will continue to offer renewal to those firms. Moving on to Allianz. Allianz quote for both sole practitioners and multi-partner firms. But this year they are going to concentrate on firms with fees in excess of 250,000 euros. And we believe also where the firm's total conveyancing does not exceed 25% of their last year's fees. So that is quite narrow, because we all know Ireland is a very small country, and we all, just like insurers, we have to be a bit like a grocery shop in having to provide services for all types of activities. So that 25% is probably a low threshold. Aviva came in to dip their toe in the market last year, albeit on a very small basis. They were really only doing co-insurance on the larger size firms. This year, they've said that they're going to expand that appetite a bit, but they're only going to quote for firms with fees in excess of 3 million euros. I believe really this is due to a resource issue within Aviva, because they're only just getting off the ground and getting their feet under the desk with regards to their financial lines team. So hopefully next year they'll open up a bit more. But all the same, it is very, very welcome additional capacity to the market, which is really the first time in 3 or 4 years that we've actually had somebody new come into the market. So it's quite encouraging, really. CNA, they quote sole practitioners and multi-partner firms. Liberty, their core appetite really is for partnerships, and I think that's going to remain for 2021. I suppose the biggest change is QBE this year. Last year, you'll remember that they decided that they were going to concentrate on firms with fees in excess of €500,000, which was a bit of a challenge to find new homes for all those firms. But I think the vast majority got sorted out, thankfully. This year, they've widened that a bit and decided that they're only going to offer renewal to firms in excess, or firms with fees in excess of 5 million. That's probably what just in top 30 firms or top 40 firms or something. So, but look, I do believe, I suppose, just so people don't panic, I believe there's enough capacity in the market from the existing remaining insurers to deal with the firms that need a new home. So that's good news, I think. Star International, they came into the market 5 or 6 years ago. They're exclusive to O'Leary Insurances, and they quote for sole practitioner and multi-partner firms. As of today's date, what is it, the 22nd of October, we're not aware of any new entrants yet. But look, all I can do is assure you that O'Leary Insurances work hard and are putting a lot of effort into bringing new capacity to the market and much needed competition. So we are really working very, very hard on that and hope to have news on that. Okay, so moving on to the minimum terms and conditions. I believe that they are ready, but not issued yet. So the only real major change this year is that there is going to be a cyber affirmation clause in the policy. And all this is doing really is just bringing clarity to the extent of cyber related losses under the policy to third party only. That's all it's doing really, i.e. it's only covering such claims brought by third parties against the firm for negligence, in other words. So for example, damage to the firm's computer systems as a result of a cyber attack, or business interruption, or ransomware, or ransoms, or anything like that. They're not included, or the cover for that is not included under the PI policy. And all that clause is doing is just spelling it out, really, I suppose, that cover is not available under the minimum terms and conditions. The policy still continues to cover rectifications of deficits in the client account as a result of a cyber crime, I suppose, and that's the most important and topical issue that the profession is experiencing at the moment. I mean, it's well publicized in the media, and I can tell you that we've seen several claims and incidents over the past number of years, and you know, for cyber related crimes, you know, and for deficits, robbing clients' money, etc. And I suppose it's important to point out that the PI policy for solicitors is very unique, insofar as it gives cover for those type of cyber crime losses up to 1.5 million euros on an any one claim basis. And I suppose, just to put that in context, that level of cyber crime cover is not commercially available in the market. You could not go out to the market for any other profession or any other industry or any other company and say, I want to buy 1.5 million of any one claim cover for cybercrime. It's just not available. So that is very, very unique to the profession. Moving on to the Common Proposal Form, it was issued on Monday, available on the Law Society website under the PII Resources section. If you haven't got it from your broker at this stage, that's where you'll find it. There hasn't been very many changes to it this year. They are after adding in some additional cyber risk management questions. They're also asking you whether you have a cyber liability policy in place. And if you do, they're asking you to provide details on the level of cover that you have and whether or not the policy extends to include cyber crime cover or not. Just another couple of things to point out in relation to the proposal form, which I have here in front of me. Question 3.4, there is an error because it asks if you've answered yes to any of the questions above, please provide full details, including numbers of hours worked. That has actually nothing to do with question 3.4, so you can ignore that. Question 4.1.2, this is just from my own experience because we sent out the Common Proposal Form to our clients last Friday or Monday, and we've got quite a number of forms back. And question 4.1.2, we've seen a lot of firms are answering it incorrectly. The question is, has your firm or any prior firm or preceding practice received any inspection visits from the Law Society of Ireland? Yes or no? A lot of forms are coming back with that ticked no. No, unless you're a new startup in the last couple of years and you haven't had just an inspection visit from the Law Society, well, then that question is being answered incorrectly. They're not asking whether there's been any adverse findings. They've asked you if you have ever had an inspection visit from the Law Society. So 99.9% of the time, that should be answered yes. And then you just go to section 16 and qualify. Yes, you had a Law Society audit, in what year it was, or Law Society visit, I should say, in what year it was, but there was no adverse findings. That will deal with it. So that's just on 4.1.
So Finbar, you freeze there just for the response of that last question. If you just give your response again, please.
Apologies. Yeah, just in relation to that response, that should read yes, that you have received a visit from the Law Society if you're not a new startup within the last couple of years, and just qualify your answer in section 16 by saying, yes, we had an inspection visit from the Law Society, but there was no adverse findings and everything was hunky-dory. But answering the question no is an issue because the vast majority of firms have had inspection visits from the Law Society. So that's that one. And then question 11.3 is still referring to section 68. I understand from a presentation I gave yesterday, that's now section 150. So that's just another error in the proposal form there. There are just a couple of things, guys, that I've noticed on the forms that are coming back to us. I hope that's of assistance. Okay. The Common Proposal Form has been issued by the Law Society in editable format, which means that you can type it. I would ask that people please do type it and don't print it off and handwrite it. Insurance companies do like to see typed forms where they don't have to try and decipher somebody's handwriting. So please, if at all possible, populate it and type the Common Proposal Form. Moving on to insurers' underwriting criteria. So what do insurers look at when their proposal form lands in their inbox? Firstly, they look at the profile of the practice. They look at whether you're a sole practitioner or a partnership. They'll obviously look at your fee income over the last 5 years. And as I said to you last year, or as I said in my last slides, that one of the underwriting factors is the fees for your last completed financial year. So one of the first things that insurers will look at is what your fees have done year on year. So as I said to you earlier, if you've seen a fee reduction year on year, that should be reflected in your premium going forward. They'll obviously look at the areas of practice, and they look at your historic exposures, conveyancing in particular. Can I recommend? Sorry, I'm just going to look at the proposal form again. There's a question on page 8, which asks for the number of undertakings that currently remain undischarged in relation to PPR and commercial. Now, obviously, people are always going to have undertakings, undischarged undertakings, maybe going back to 19 or 18. But if there are any other undertakings undischarged in the prior years, 17, 16, or for any other period, that's going to be an alarm bell to an insurer. So I would recommend that if there are undischarged undertakings in those earlier periods, that you address it in a covering letter by just saying, you know, if you've got 2 outstanding in 2016, this is a mapping issue with the registry office. I have no issues in discharging this. It's just in a backlog, and we will have no issue in the future with discharging these undertakings. That shows insurers that you're up to date with your undertakings register, and you've got your finger on the pulse and know exactly what's going on. So that's just a bit of advice on historic exposures and conveyancing in particular. Obviously, insurers will look at your claims experience. I think the common proposal form goes back 10 years. I suppose just on the common proposal form, it does state, please obtain evidence of claims experience from your insurer for the last 10 years. I can assure you that insurers are not looking for the claims experience going back 10 years if you have not had any claims. You really only need to provide a claims experience for the years where you have had a claim. So, I mean, because some firms, and especially over in the recent past, could have changed insurer 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years. So as I said, you only ask for the claims experience and get the claims experience where there's been a claim in a particular year. Staying on claims, if you have had a claim, insurers don't want to see or don't need to see your entire claim file being 30 or 40 or 50 pages long. I can tell you from experience that if you send your proposal form with your claim file being 50 or 60 pages long as an attachment, there's only one place that email is going, and it's not going to be printed off for the insurer to look at. So if you have had a claim, all insurers look for is a brief summary of the claim. What happened? Where is it currently? What's the quantum, or what was it settled for? And I suppose most importantly, what has the firm done to prevent that claim happening again? That's all that they want. I mean, insurers, there's only 5 or 6 insurers. There's probably only double the amount of underwriters that need to go through 2,200 proposal forms. So, you know, they haven't got time to read 150 pages and get down into the nitty-gritty of stuff. So short and sweet, I suppose, is the message there. Risk management, you know, just like every year, and it's probably even more important now than ever, the firm's attitude and approach to risk management, its policies and its procedures are still very, very important. And I suppose no more than ever now, when you know, a lot of us are working from home, insurers are more than likely going to look for commentary and comfort on the process of supervision of personnel, and also for, you know, cybersecurity. Staying on cybersecurity, insurers, as I said earlier, there's a question in the proposal form about standalone cyber cover, and the common proposal form, as I said, is asking for full details on the cyber policy that you may have in place.
So Finbar, I know there's a few questions there. We'll just keep them to the end, I think, rather than
That's fine. That's no problem at all. That's no problem. Okay, moving on to underwriting considerations. As I said earlier, most insurers are looking for the common proposal form to be completed this year. Many firms will not have completed a common proposal form, Justin, and ladies and gentlemen, in 8 or 9 years. It's a scary bit of paper when you open it. There's a lot of work involved in it. There's a lot of dragging and pulling information from various departments to be done. I mean, we're only at the 22nd of October, but I would ask that firms at least have a look at it and see what information they're going to need to pull together. You know, and just, you're going to have to put half a day aside, I would have thought, to really give this form your full attention. Okay. As in supplementary forms, as in 2020, and as we recently believe happened in England and Wales, we can expect some insurers are going to look for additional or supplementary forms and questionnaires around COVID-19, working from home, cyber, or whatever it is. Again, as I said, we expect cyber to be a key consideration. There's additional questions regarding cyber and also regarding multi-factor authentication. And I suppose, given the focus on cyber, Justin, we're expecting certain insurers to start charging additional premiums where a firm doesn't hold a standalone cyber policy that includes cybercrime. The $1 million question, how much, we don't know yet, because I mean, insurers won't start quoting until the first week in November. Even though the proposal form is out there and forms and sent back, they have until the end of October to sign up to the to be a participating insurer, and really they don't start quoting, as I said, until the first week in November. So we're not going to get sight on what charges and what insurers are going to start charging for firms that don't have cyber in place. So that's something that we're going to have to consider and look at this year. Okay, so the as I said earlier, we suggest a comprehensive presentation, including, it's no bad idea to include a cover note about your firm, just a short narrative. I'm not asking for a five-page letter, just a page and a half outlining the details of the firm, your core areas, your expertise, any additional information that's not being asked in the common proposal form, which isn't very much, to be quite honest. But anything that you think is going to set your firm aside from everybody else's. If the firm has risk management accreditation, ensure to return a copy of the latest report and any comment on the recommendations that were raised. That we'd recommend that. Also with firms with sizable conveyancing, because we know certain insurers, aren't too fond of firms with high conveyancing. That goes back to, I won't even bring it up, back in 07 and 08 after the crash, whatever. We've been there. But I suppose it might be an idea to, if you have got sizable conveyancing, maybe to differentiate between the buy side versus the sell side. Given that it's the buy side where the majority of the risk is, so that might be a good idea to try and differentiate. Focusing on client work that is firmly within the core expertise of the firm is also a key consideration, as is sticking to the scope of the retainer. Okay, and again, insurers have concerns around working from home. These concerns around working from home are largely around the supervision and escalation procedures within the firm. That there's also concern that well-being of personnel working in a remote capacity may result in errors and omissions. So these are the kind of things that insurers are talking about. Where are the claims going to come from and why are they going to come? Okay. We're running out of time here, Justin. I said it was going to be 15 minutes. I'll very quickly go through this. We all know that the minimum level of cover required on the minimum terms is 1.5 million. A lot of firms buy additional cover on top of that. Again, we're probably going to see rate increases on that. It's whilst we will see rate increases, premiums are still relatively competitive compared to the 1.5 million cover. We've all seen claims over the past number of years well exceeding the 1.5 million limit. So it's just something to consider. So onto my last slide. Begin the process as soon as you can. Please have a look at that common proposal form. It is a painful process. A lot of people, as I said earlier, wouldn't have completed that form for many, many years. Talk to all your staff. Ask them about any claims or circumstances or files that might be worrying them, that they need to report, that you may need to report to your current insurer by the end of the policy period. That is very, very important. Insurers are going to be selective on new business. It is going to be a challenging, but I don't believe as challenging year as we had last year. But insurers are going to be very selective with their capacity. Please try and make your firm stand out from the rest. I suppose that's the key point. And get your form back as soon as you can. I'm here to help anybody who's got any queries on the proposal form. I don't believe the guide for the 2021 proposal form, common proposal form, is up yet, Justin.
No.
It's nearly there, I believe. So hopefully that'll come up over the weekend or early next week. Best of luck with it, guys. As I said, anybody has any queries, I'm always available to have a chat to anybody.
So Finbar, can you see thanks a million for the presentation. Can you see the questions there that are available to people?
So I'll just stop the sharing there now.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
So there was a question there. I believe that a number of firms were forced into the assigned risk pool, ARP, and this can only be availed of for 1 year. So what happens to such firms if they can't obtain cover?
Well, it's my firm belief that, I mean, in 2019, there was only one firm in the assigned risk pool, Justin. Last year in 2020, I think there was 12. My firm belief is that there's 8 or 9 of those that should not be in there at all. I just think there was a serious capacity crunch at the end of last year. They'll just need to complete the common proposal form just like everybody else and resubmit to the market and look for assistance. Maybe talk to somebody about getting an audit done or something like that could accompany their proposal form and differentiate them and show them that there's nothing wrong within that firm and try and entice an insurer to quote.
Yeah, but this is a problem affecting a very small
Correct.
proportion.
Very, very small portion, a very small percentage of the profession.
Yeah. So there's a query there around cyber cover. So the presence or absence of separate cyber cover, I think you kind of dealt with that, but will a firm be more attractive or less if it carries cyber cover? Well, I'd say more.
Obviously more attractive. It's not that they're going to decline to unless you answer the cyber risk management questions in a way that insurers don't like at all. I don't think there's going to be an issue with not having cyber cover.
Yeah. And I know
it will save you money if there are certain insurers, which I think nearly most of them now nearly have thrown their hat in the ring, saying that they're going to charge. So as I said, but it shouldn't stop you from getting cover.
And I know Brian O'Mara, from a colleague of yours, we did an information session with him earlier in the year on the Small Practice Hub. You'll be able to see that, but he talks specifically around cybersecurity insurance.
Yes. I see the next one here. How important is risk management? I think we get asked this question every year, Justin. It's very important in our view. It differentiates your firm from everybody else's. As I said, when capacity is tight, insurers are going to pick and choose what firms they want. What firms do they want? They want the ones with the best risk management procedures that are in place. So
there was a query there around the yardstick. What ratio of gross fees to premium should firms be seeking to achieve? Is that a possible question to answer?
It's an impossible question, Justin. That's only one of the underwriting factors that insurers consider when they're looking at your proposal form. It's down to your activity split. It's down to your claims history. It's down to your risk management procedures that are in place. It's very hard. It's very hard to say that. I get the phone call every year, Justin, from my firm, but Finbar, my colleague down the road, same as me, but he's paying half what I'm paying. There's so many different considerations and underwriting factors.
There's a question there about cyber security and charities.
So I can't see that one.
When looking for cyber shields or cyber security, I presume previously I was told that cyber cover was not available for charities. Perhaps this is only something that was particular to that policy. Wondering, is cyber cover available to charities?
I have no reason to believe that it's not.
Yeah. It seems like a very particular question. So I suppose in roundup, we've just got a couple about 30 seconds to go. Thanks a million to Finbar for being such a good support with us today. But I mean, in summary, get your the common proposal form out as soon as possible and start working on it. This is like a job application, I suppose. Is not something that's done the night before. It's something that you feed into over a period of time and get a couple of drafts together.
Yeah, and just like a job application, it's not something you do every year either. Maybe might be 1 in 10 years.
Yeah,
this is exactly like the common proposal form. It's a painful document, Justin. It really is.
Yeah. So preparation is key, and the more that you can document and support your activities and what you're doing, I think you made a very interesting point that to look at, what you specifically the core competency of the firm is, and try and ring fence the business that you do around that.
A lot of these questions are yes and no, but have about 14 or 12 or 13 parts to it. So if you can't answer yes or no to all of those, well, then you have to qualify that in section 16. You know what I mean? That's very, very important. There's a couple of questions thrown in there, Justin, just to make sure that you're not ticking yes to everything. So be very careful in the way you complete the form, please.
So I think preparation is key. Listen, we're out of time. Thanks very much for joining us today, Finbar. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with